Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Help for HDTV. Today is our third show of our four-show series for HD Awareness Month. And today we have Lauren on with us. We were all talking as a group on what we were going to do for radio shows and TV shows and the post campaigns and everything for HD Awareness Month. And so I said, Lauren, come on TV with us and do one show with all three of us together. So as everyone knows, we are asking questions. You guys should all have gotten your cards in the mail where you guys can fill them out of who you fight for and why is HD awareness important. But I will let Katrina lead us in for one of the cards of what they asked. We are going to ask Lauren today.
So Lauren, why don't you tell everyone if there was one thing you would like the rest of the world to know about HD, what would it be and why?
First, thanks for having me on. Always excited to be on here with you guys. So if there was one thing I'd want everybody to know, there's a million things I want people to know. There's so many things. HD doesn't start as a visible disease. It's more than movements. It's even more than a brain disease. Research shows that it affects the heart. But I think the most important right now would be that we don't have the resources we need because of it being a rare disease and because of doctors being uneducated on what HD is. And that's why awareness is so important and why we have HD Awareness Month. We don't have everything Alzheimer's has and Parkinson's has. We're very limited with our resources and end up having to do a lot of the work ourselves.
Absolutely. You bring up resources, and I think people use resources as an over umbrella thing, right? There's so many different resources out there. And before we got on the show, we were talking about disability, which is incredibly frustrating. And let's think about I was just going to say a couple of resources that HD is just lost. And obviously disability is one of them, but also medical schools. They don't even teach HD. The nursing schools, they're like, oh yeah, we read one paragraph. Like, how are you going to care for someone with HD out of one paragraph?
Yeah. So I'm in a program with somebody where they pair you off, the compassion program, and where they pair you off with a medical professional. And that was actually the things she said to me when we first talked was, I only read one paragraph about HD. So that's the reality, even in 2023, that only one paragraph is being given to medical professionals. That is terrible because then we don't have the people we need going into this field. Not only that, but we have a huge lack when it comes to mental health for all stages of HD. There's just not anybody who's really huge into the mental health side for HD and making things better. Disability, obviously, we have major gaps. You can't, even though it's on the compassionate allowance list, and this is personal experience, you can't get it like you're supposed to. So you still have to go through denials and hire attorneys. And it's crazy that we have to deal with that instead of having what we need. The thing to remember, though, is every state has different resources when it comes to overall. So where our Medicaid might suck, you guys have great Medicaid programs out in California. And so there are just different resources depending on what state you're in. I can say North Carolina is lacking when it comes to resources, but we do have HD Reach, which has been a really good thing because of a dedicated social worker, but it really is just going through and looking in each state because there's general resources, and then you have to look for resources within not Huntington's, but look within dementia or neurologic diseases to see if you can find stuff, because usually we'll qualify for stuff based off of dementia, neurologic, but HD isn't necessarily mentioned.
And final, before we get off here, you said HD is more than movements, and you said HD is not visible in the beginning. Just real quick, explain to us what you meant when you said that.
Sure. So in the beginning of HD, a lot of us talk about the clinical diagnosis of HD, right? Which is movements. When you have movements, that is when you receive a clinical diagnosis, or that's how it's been. And that's no longer the case. Cognitive symptoms and behavioral symptoms can show up a decade before. And not everybody gets the behavioral symptoms, but everybody deals with cognitive symptoms. And that is the part that's not visible. That's the part that it begins and you don't realize it's happening, and it starts to change your life. And now that we start to learn more and more about HD and we know this, we're starting to see more people get a diagnosis based off of those cognitive deficits, but it's not visible to other people. Most people will look at you and go, you're normal, you're about the same. And the truth is you're not.
So thank you for that, Lauren. And one thing before we get off here, Lauren talked about diagnosis with movements. I know that so many people also really struggle with diagnosis and getting tested and the whole process. This is a huge show that we could go over that would take days and days about all the trials and tribulations of testing. But one thing, since you brought up testing, we do have an HD family testing relief fund. This is through HD Genetics, and you could do at-home testing, and Help for HD International has a testing fund for those of you who can't pay what it costs for that genetic test. And I think that's important to note because there is so many barriers when it comes to testing, and it's a personal choice, but financial should never be a barrier. That should not happen. That should one thing we can take off for now. As long as we continue to have the funds, we will continue to take that off families' plates if that is the burden. HD Genetics is, if you guys want to look it up, you can go to hdgenetics.com, and it's a great option for testing at home in the comfort of your own house.
But that is a great resource, and we're talking resources. So
Yeah.
that was a great thing to bring up.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything we can get, we'll take.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think that will do it for today. You guys don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to the channel below and ring the bell for notifications when more videos like this come out. Until next time.